Okay, so it's been a while. Lots of big changes. So I'm going to read you something that happened when I was doing Reiki one day. Greetings, children of Eel. You are not of this world, but this is your illusion. You are to become separate from this and succeed. Courage is your armor. By remaining separate, you can become whole. You see, many of you believe in the wrong separation already. Many of you seek to find yourselves in different parts of our universe, referring to star children, galactic ideologies, and so forth. But how is this possible when your universe is one field of existence? You seek to believe some of you are from different dimensions. Again, how is this possible when all things are singular regardless of placement? You spend so much of your lives or your life focused on illusion, you even think in your enlightenment you are separate. This is why I say you must become separate in order to become unified. When you stop accepting the illusion, you will understand my words, for you are the children of Eel. There is no separation from one to the next. It is all unified unto the end. You do not grasp this, though, because you do not seek the light that radiates at your core. This light, this shard essence, makes up your soul's house and keeps you alive from life to life. It is your immortality. This is a piece of the whole. You call it a transistor. It acts like a vacuum, pulling to it energy and creating outward from the necessary components of experiences it needs to fulfill its projection. He asks, how do you expect to escape that which is there? There is the vision, hither homeward. Chapter 3, verse 2, line 3. We are reminded that all is not. We are here, so is the universe. Nothing is separate, not God, not man, not Hebrew, Egypt, or Asian. Nothing is separate, so why do we long for death in life? I grow weary of this life, but the next life is this life. There is no difference. Reverence for living is necessity. We will not, nor can escape until our appointed time, that which is flesh. We shed the flesh, we still are not free, up or down, side to side. The circumference is everywhere, so how do you escape when all things is or are? Settle down, children, settle down. When this is assimilated into your minds, you will see that the prophet Jesus said, do unto others. For you will finally know what happens when a butterfly flaps its wings. Furthermore, when you recognize your own war, the reason you have for not loving life, for never truly feeling happy, you stop blaming the external, and recognize the internal as your journey farther and farther into the soul. You come home to truth, you stop experiencing your own lies, your own beliefs that force you to think that this or that, or rather than against is. The journey of separation is to come home, to rest within the universe and command all things by way of magic, quote-unquote magic. Knowing that you are the key to it all, in that moment you become free to allow others their freedom. Slaves may serve, but who am I to judge? So this is the next thing here, and this is going to be kind of weird, but let's try it. No, let's try and it's kind of hard to show you guys this. It's not even focusing properly. Okay, there we go. So, what we just discussed, this dot is basically you. This circumference, this circle, this is Nui, this is life, this is the universe, this is, the unmanifest, all sorts of things. This circle is forever, it's infinity. That's why I have placed over here life, universe, eternity. Because this circle can represent all three things. This circle can represent, the patterns that we don't see. This circle represents death. This circle represents life. This circle represents dimension. But within this circle, all things exist. So if all things exist within the circle, here we go again. We can't run from this. We can't say, I want to go this way or that way. I want to do this. I want to do this. Because this circle is complete. There's nothing else outside the circle. Again, in the source, you have life, you have your soul, you have, the very nature, the very atom that drives you. And of course, if this is going to be Earth, this is going to be space. And so we are surrounded by space. There is a never-ending amount of space outside of our galaxy. This is what that channeled information was about, the children of Eel. Because within this, you have also, there's basically what that symbol is in astrology is that's the sun. The sun is your consciousness, it's purity, it's all things. So at the center of your consciousness, in a very short, simple way, we can look at the soul consciousness. So we have what they term the mind. I don't want to use the word ego. So you have the mind, which is the consciousness of this reality. It's the three-dimensional consciousness. Then you get to that source. That source is even beyond the 5-dimension. That source is, the purity of all things. It's the God source that Jesus talked about after he, became God. And by him becoming God, what it means is he completely absolved himself of, the material mind. And I just thought it was interesting because here we are that this is this symbol, the circle within the dot within the circle has been the main. It's an esoteric symbol that's been bounced around from different person to different person, but always has had the same thing. And so I'm sitting there in Reiki, doing Reiki to myself, and that's when this entity started talking to me, and that's when I got the Children of Eel part. The second part that you heard was me after the fact. I was starting to think about all of what had been said, and then some of the ways I can define it through the philosophy of Thelema. But it was quite nice because it finally kind of made me realize it's like, you have all these twin flames that talk about ascension, they talk about this, they talk about that. All of these things are division. These things are not unity, because if you're changing, great, you're changing. But if you continually see yourself as separate from this, separate from that, blah, 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 you're not doing anything. You just keep dividing yourself into more and more pieces, because the further and further you get away from yourself, it's all done by that. It's right now my twin flame is having this whole thing about the American political landscape and how it's tyranny and how it's this and how it's that, and it's like, you're addicted to drama. That's what you're doing by focusing on that, because as a Canadian he shouldn't have a reason to focus on it, but he's addicted to the drama of tyranny. He's addicted to focusing on a negative and focusing outside of himself. That's the same thing with the other twin flames. They're like, oh, I'm ascending, oh, I'm growing, oh, I'm doing. As long as you keep finding a way not to be who you are, which means labels, ascension and all these other different words, this is all division. So the farther you go into division, the more you keep dividing yourself up and saying, oh, well, this part of me didn't work and this part of me is this and this part. Who cares? Because none of that matters, because everything in the circumference of that point is you. So what you need to do is, instead of trying to make the circle expand, try to get into that center. The further into that center you go, the less you need your labels, the less you care whether you're this or that, if you're on this trip or on that trip. There is no trip. There is one life, and you're living that life. And if you continue to live that life based on whether or not you consider if you want to say you're growing, great, you're growing. But to say ascension means to lift off, to change, to go higher. Ascension is the point of revelations where the souls go into heaven. It's ascending. You're not ascending, you're still here. So I know that really, I keep talking about this, but it's just like, oh my God, we've got to stop doing that. Because if your full focus is what your soul is doing, and if this lifetime and that next lifetime are all, better, or you're more enlightened for it, you're not serving yourself, because you're not serving what you're doing in the experience. But anyways, that's me rambling about that part. But it was just interesting to get over that in my own head, because this idea came through that was talking to me about how it all happens, and that truly, if the next life and this life are all the same, it's just a different degree of perception, i.e. physical versus non-physical. Why do we care about the ascension stuff? Why don't we care if we're this or we're that? It's like we should just be caring about the fact that we're doing for humanity, we're doing for ourselves, we're doing for each other. And, the less we focus on what's going on externally and whether or not, something's happening, and we focus on what we're doing, then we can focus on how much love we're bringing into the world. But the more we focus on being angry or upset or, divided, the less power we give to ourselves and the less power we bring to the world. So, we'll see how that goes.